Tell me about this. What you got going on now with this real kipper? Look at this, the Stanley Cup. Look at this.
Isn't that great?
Move the book next to the bike. Take the book. Take the
I
book.
got I got the book right here, bud. I got a
There
measure now.
you go. That's it. That's it. There you go. That's it. That's what we
How
want
are
to
you?
talk about. I'm
How are
great.
you?
How are you?
I'm
How's the
good.
pandemic? Welcome to our show here, the Off the Post on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're glad I'm having you. I hope people are chiming in. So tell me about your setup first. What you got going on? What's Real Kipper?
Real Kipper's a YouTube channel that we started with the return to play. So myself and Doug McLean, of course, all these years we were up here on Sportsnet. We had a radio show called Hockey Central at noon, and we've decided to take it digitally. So, of course, after 21 years at Sportsnet, I did not renew my contract. Things have changed as far as the climate in the industry. I thought it was a good time to uh, take a break and maybe reevaluate. And everything was pointing in the direction of podcasts and YouTube channels, and that's where Real Kipper was born.
Great stuff. Oh, by the way, I don't watch the Hockey Central anymore since you, Doug, and since you guys got it's so bad now with Stewart and those other and Jeff Merrick. You gave Jeff Merrick a few lessons, but anyways.
Well, listen, they're good guys. They're trying hard, and
but it's not the same.
Well, nothing's ever really the same, right?
No.
But you know what? People got to move on. Life's always about changes, and that's where we are today. We're part of a Canadian company, i3 Interactive. It's an online gaming company that wanted content. We're on linemovement.com if you're looking for it. And the online gaming is blitzbet.eu. So it just seemed with Gary Bettman's decision to start using names and likeness of NHL players and teams that it was going to go towards mainstream media and with the online gambling. So that's where Real Kipper at noon and linemovement.com was born.
Congratulations. All right. What inspired you to write the book?
I thought it was a good time, Ashley, just in terms of kind of reevaluate 12 years of professional hockey, 3.5 in junior A hockey, growing up in Canada. I won a Calder Cup with the Hershey Bears in 1988. I won a championship, of course, with the New York Rangers in 94. And then the transition from hockey to broadcasting over 20 years, many rocky roads in the last 35 years. And I just wanted to maybe inspire a few people to say it's not how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. And there was ample examples of that in my book. And I wanted to pass it on to people to say that there's many different ways to get to the same destination. So I hope some players out there, some future players will understand that, we're not all lucky enough to be Connor McDavid's or Sidney Crosby's, where you're the best player on every team that you played on since you were 7 years old. That, there are some players that at times it didn't look like they were destined to play in the NHL, yet you still found a way. That's what I hope the book inspires.
When you were playing, did you ever think you'd get into my business or our business when you were playing, or you thought, did you have any idea? Were you thinking about the future? Because I know the kids today, and I want you to comment on this. Kids today don't really. I think the millennials don't really think about their futures. Well, all of them at the lower. I'm telling you, what I've come across, I don't think they think about their futures. You want to comment?
Well, I would say that if you're talking about broadcasting, it's only because they have too much money and they don't have to work like I did building something up. I didn't have enough money to retire. I had certainly a great nest egg, and it gave me a great start in life. But I had to really work hard to establish a second career. Maybe the players today might be in a different position where they can pick and choose a little bit more and be their own bosses. Of course, when you go into the corporate world of broadcasting, you're ultimately never your own boss. You've got producers, you've got directors, you got camera people always telling you what to do, where to stand, and sometimes
Where to sit.
they try to tell you what to say. And I like the freedom of Real Kipper at noon here, where I build my own studio. I'm my own boss. I get to say whatever the hell I want, and it's all good.
Now you were not drafted. You walked in as a to Washington. What was that first training camp like, and how did you turn heads?
Well, I didn't have a good year. The first year of eligibility of my draft, I think I had 12 goals, and I was fortunate enough just prior to playing my first NHL game with the Washington Capitals, I signed my first professional contract actually with the Philadelphia Flyers and remained in that organization for a few years. And at times it didn't look very good that I'd ever get a chance to play my first NHL game. Took a lot of knocks, including a couple of big injuries that one told me that would end my career, and that was a complete reconstruction of my right knee. But I had good people around me. I had good doctors around me. I had Pat Croce, who was a physical therapist with the Philadelphia Flyers, and of course went on to do great things with ownership of the 76ers and the NBA. I had Tim Kerr. Tim Kerr took me under his wing and really gave me a chance to understand what pro hockey is all about and try to document that best I could in the book.
Talk about now you won the Calder Cup 87-88 with the Hershey Bears, of course the Stanley Cup with the Rangers 93-94. Now, when you went to the Flyers, did they have the edict that you have to be the quote unquote, let's say the ruffian, the goon, the sandpaper guy?
It kind of evolved for me, and it wasn't definitively the Philadelphia Flyers or the Washington Capitals. It said that, I was one of the top goal scorers in junior history.
62 goals,
62
35
goals.
assists, 97 points one year.
Yeah, I had a lot of goals. I think I still sit in the top 20 in all-time junior A goal scorers. So I knew at the time that they weren't very patient people in the NHL, whether it's the Philadelphia Flyers or the Washington Capitals. They want, if you're a goal scorer, you score goals right away, or they're going to find someone else that can. And when I started reading the tea leaves that maybe I couldn't score at the rate that I did in junior, I wanted to find a different way to stay and contribute. And that meant being more physical. That meant dropping your gloves at times, but it always meant being a great teammate. And I made that adjustment on my own.
Did you go out looking for it right away? Like I said before, do you have many fights in that first training camp with Hershey, or in that first year?
Oh, no. That was a given. It was, you had to show your stuff right away. And even the goal scorers felt that they needed to get involved right away, the young junior goal scorers. So, there was a great rivalry between the Philadelphia Flyer rookies and the Washington Capital rookies. And if that exhibition game didn't last longer than 4 hours, something was seriously wrong.
Yeah, you can't get away with that today. Okay, you went from the Hershey Bears, then you went to the Baltimore Skipjacks. What was that experience like?
Well, it was a bit of a transition period because Brian Murray had just got fired and got replaced by his brother, Terry Murray. Can you recall hearing anything more goofy than a brother replacing a brother as a head coach in the NHL? That was a complete one-off. My good friend Doug McLean, who's a regular contributor here on the Real Kipper at Noon show, ended up going down to Baltimore as the head coach. I went down there to kind of get my confidence back. I also had surgery on my right knee to replace some staples, and I was just down there long enough to kind of gain my confidence back, but even establish a good relationship with Doug McLean. And both of us, we haven't looked back. Of course, he spent over 10 years with me at Sportsnet and now hanging out with me on my YouTube channel. So it was a great experience. And again, every player wishes that he could just step out of junior and have a long career and not even see the minors or the American Hockey League. But it certainly led to my growth as a player and a person, my time in the American Hockey League.
Is the American Hockey League different from when you played to today?
Well, I think the whole game's evolved, and we don't necessarily actually see the fights that we saw before. There's not anywhere near the pressure of the players to drop their gloves. I think on average now we probably see over 65, maybe close to 70% of all NHL games now be fight free. So it's kind of evolved naturally, which is great. But certain players, they've spoken loud and clear. They still want it in their game, and it's there for them if they feel like they need to do it. But it's night and day from where we were 15, 20 years ago.
But do you think that does the sticks now come up too much cheap shot stuff going on nowadays?
No, there's some
Nobody
nice.
being accountable. Wait, I'm not finished. Nobody being accountable for what they do on the ice.
Yeah.
Like a guy like Ken Linsman would thrive today.
Yeah, there's at times you wish that players held more players accountable, but for the most part, I think a lot of it's been cleaned up. I think that the skill level is now higher than it's ever been before, and at times, it can be a little boring. 3 games.
Yeah, knock it in, knock it out, knock it in, right? Knock it out.
And you wish that they had a little bit more in terms of keeping players on the edge a little bit, but it is what it is. For the most part, the skill is what people want to see the most, and it's never been better. So yeah, there's at times I wish that certain guys wouldn't get away with what they're getting away with, but I think for the most part, it's still a very entertaining game.
Baseball does not allow aluminum bats. They still have wooden bats. Baseball, they won't allow it. Hockey, we had wooden sticks for umpteen years.
Yeah.
Now we have aluminum sticks, the whips that they are. Do you think that the NHL could have done something to prevent this from going on, or not? Or they just didn't care?
Well, you can't stop the advancement of technology, and the sticks are better than they've ever been before. The players love them. They shoot harder with them. The flex, the ability to, and we've seen Ovechkin on those one-timers and how much of a bend that his stick has, and could never do that with a wooden stick. Sometimes they break a little bit too easily for our liking, but that's the trade-off for still watching Ovechkin go top shelf from 40, 50 feet out. But for the most part, like I said, the stick work isn't nearly as bad as it was in my era. The fighting isn't nearly as often in my era. I think for the most part, even concussions, when we see a concussion today, Ashley, it happens to be more of a incidental contact than it is getting punched in the head or getting a cheap shot. So I think for the most part, the game has really evolved, in the direction that people would like it to.